Hi, everyone. Welcome to my Mexico Relocation Guide live stream. How are you guys doing today? Happy Wednesday. Are you guys getting ready for Christmas? I know we are over here. I would love for you guys to join us here as you're starting to, warm up your computer, whatever you're doing on your end. Get your cup of coffee, get your water, sit down, and you're going to learn a lot today about living in Querétaro. With me today, I have Vanessa.
Hello.
Vanessa is originally from the US, but has moved to Querétaro. And she's going to share with us a lot of information, why she likes it there, how long she's been there, what it's like to run a business in Mexico, or, what it's like to even work abroad or have, internet connection issues, things like that. She's going to share with us maybe some of her insights of what she likes and dislikes about Mexico. So you're going to learn a lot today, needless to say. Before we get started, I want to give you guys a chance to read. There's a banner that kind of goes around in a loop at the bottom. We are going to be announcing some relocation tour dates coming up. We did one in November where we had a large group of people. We had 6 days going around the country. So we're going to be doing something a little bit different where we're going to focus on specific cities. So we do have some tour dates coming up. Make sure you sign up for our newsletter so you're the first one to find out, because seats are going to be very, very limited. So it's on a first come, first serve basis. We're going to get started here in a minute. And if you guys want to introduce yourselves, please go ahead. There's a live chat button. Click on that and let us know where you're watching from. Hi, Dave. Thank you so much for watching. Love San Miguel de Allende. Love San Miguel de Allende. Do you live there, Dave, or are you just visiting? So go ahead and live chat in and let us know where you're watching from. Or maybe let us know what you guys are doing for Christmas. We'll get started here in a minute. Vanessa, how are you?
I am very well. I'm very happy to be here today with
Thank
you.
you. Thank you so much for coming. And Vanessa's a busy gal. She runs a business. So her spending this time with us is very, very much appreciated. Hi, Tony. Thank you so much for watching from Houston. Robin lives in Chicago, moving to San Miguel de Allende. Very, very cool, Robin. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope you get a lot of value from this live stream. Just touring Mexico for a place to settle. Awesome. Well, you're definitely on the right live stream. You're going to get to learn a lot today about Querétaro, which, in my opinion, I was just talking to Vanessa about this, doesn't get enough praise. I feel like
Yeah.
it's all about San Miguel. It's all about San Miguel. It's all about Lake Chapala. And I feel like Querétaro is a city that deserves more applause, deserves more of a platform. So that's the purpose of this live stream today. Why don't we get started? Vanessa, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Where are you originally from?
Absolutely. I'm originally from New York City, born and raised in Queens, New York. But I have been an eternal expat since graduating from college. I went to Brown University and I graduated and I moved to Paris. I lived in Paris for 8 years, moved back to New York, and then lived in Haiti. And after Haiti, moved to Mexico.
Right on.
I also lived in Brazil for a while too.
Okay. What made you decide Mexico was a country you wanted to explore?
Wow. When I think of Mexico, I think of my existential self. When I was 17 years old, my aunt in Haiti called me one day and said, she's going to do an exhibit of Haitian art in Mexico City. And a lot of my aunts and my uncles actually studied in Mexico City. They studied at UNAM. So we have this background with Mexico. And when she called me, I was 17 years old. I said, okay, I'm not doing anything this summer. I will go. And that trip really changed my life. It's the reason why I believe myself to be a global citizen. It's why I'm very comfortable just packing my bags and moving to a new country. And out of all the countries that I have visited, it's not like I visited so many, but I really am an expat. Mexico has always been my favorite. I feel like Mexico just has everything, everything that you need to have just a really great quality of life.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, if you want cooler weather, it has it. If you want really hot weather, it has it. If you want, a very small town, it has that. It has, plus, I mean, you're from New York, so you don't know this, but in Texas, we have a very popular grocery store called H-E-B.
Yes,
And
I was there this morning.
they have them in Querétaro, which is awesome.
I was there this morning, actually.
Yeah? Okay, so you know.
Yeah.
If you know, you
Yeah.
know, by the way. If you're watching this, yeah, and you're from Texas, they have H-E-B in Mexico, you guys.
Yeah, it is great.
So had you ever gone to Querétaro before deciding like that was where you were going to be?
No, well, I'll give a backstory really in terms of how I got here. I was living in Haiti for 7 years, and I felt it was a point where I needed to leave because things politically were just getting a little crazy over there. And I have a young daughter, and I just felt, I just don't see my future here. So I said, okay, I think now it's Mexico. This is my favorite country. Mexico City is my favorite city in the world. I have to figure out where, in Mexico I will move to. So people talked about Mérida a lot. I have friends who were there, who were snowbirds there. And they said, come visit us in Mérida. Mérida could be a great place for you. So in February of 2020, right before COVID hit, it was just starting, we were just starting to hear about COVID. I went to Mérida with my daughter. I got this beautiful Airbnb. I loved it. I thought it was amazing. And it really solidified my belief that Mexico, whichever Mexican city I would choose, Mexico was where I wanted to be in terms of the lifestyle that I wanted to have. And but unfortunately, Merida just had a few things that I just didn't work for me. It's really, really hot, really hot. And even after having lived in Haiti, Merida was just on another level. It had mosquitoes, which after living in Haiti, I didn't want to deal with mosquitoes anymore. So I just realized it wasn't the place. But then I was supposed to stay there for 3 weeks and left after 2 because COVID really started hitting. So my family was like, just come back home. We don't know how this is going to pan out. Just come back. So I came back, and after leaving Haiti, I went to stay with my parents who were in South Carolina while I transitioned into where I would move to Mexico. So I basically, just like everyone, we were in quarantine, the lockdown. And so I had a year to really figure out, okay, which Mexican city would it be? As I said, Mexico City is my favorite city in the world. I would move there in a heartbeat, but I just felt I was really just worried about the earthquakes. And you can live in Mexico City very well with a young child, even though it's a huge city. That wasn't my issue. The issue was the earthquakes. So when I was in Mexico in 2014, one of my Mexican friends had told me, you should go visit Querétaro while you're here. It's only, it's not that far away, go visit. I didn't have the time to go visit. But when I was thinking about, okay, Merida's not it, Mexico City's not it, where would I move to? I was like, wait a minute, what about Querétaro? So I just really started doing all of my research, and very, very quickly, it was clear to me that this was the city because, as I said, I have a daughter, she's 3 years old. So I'm thinking about her schooling, and my family is of Haitian descent, so we speak French. So her speaking French was also very important to me, in addition to her learning Spanish. Querétaro has one of the 3 lycées français schools in Mexico. So that really solidified it for me. But even more so than that, after doing all of my research, it was clear it's a big city. You're close to Mexico City. It has everything. So in January of this year, I did a scouting trip alone for 2 weeks, and that's where I knew this was it. Yeah, this was it. Yeah.
How far into your scouting trip were you like looking for rentals and
before I arrived?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm a strategic planner, so I plan. So I was already in contact with agents. I was already in the Facebook groups for Querétaro. And yeah, I already, during my trip, went to look at different, I was already able to know which neighborhood I wanted to live in. And yeah, and so when I got here in June, I already had my agent lined up. He had already sent me a bunch of, ideas, options for communities, for neighborhoods and homes, and that's it. Yeah, I was very organized.
That's good. That's a great agent for them to educate you before getting there. These are the different neighborhoods. These are some plus and minuses about them.
Yeah.
That's great. In your opinion, what do you feel? So for anybody who might be watching or maybe considering Mexico City or Querétaro, what do you think, for your experience, are the main differences you see between those 2 big cities?
Well, the main difference is that Querétaro is a much smaller city. I think it's more um, easy to navigate, or it's just smaller. You know, it's I think about 1 million people,
To
whereas
2 million.
whereas Mexico City, if you take all of Mexico City, it's like 23 million or so. I don't
Yeah,
know, maybe more.
yeah.
So you know, Mexico City can be very overwhelming because it's so big. Another thing is that I find Querétaro is extremely clean.
Hmm.
It's extremely clean. A lot of people say that it's just one of the Mexican cities that are the cleanest Mexican cities. It's just, I think, more doable, just easy to navigate. That's, I mean, you know, I think whether it's Guadalajara, Mexico City, Querétaro, you know, Mexican cities are very similar because it's Mexico, right? And so it's these big Mexican cities. But yeah, I would say that. I think Querétaro is just, it's on a smaller scale, but it's still big, which is what I loved. I loved living in the city. I wanted to feel like I wasn't isolated it in any way. And so you have everything here. You have everything.
Yeah. Have you traveled back to the US at all? Have you gone to the airport in Querétaro or?
Yes, I just came back because I just came back from getting my residency, my temporary residency. So I'm
Oh,
really excited. Thank
congrats.
you. So excited about that. So, you know, when you want to go back to get your residency, you have to go back to your home country and have an appointment and get pre-approved and finalize the process in Mexico. So yes, the Querétaro airport is a small airport, but it's a great airport. Yeah.
That's awesome. Robin wants to know if you need a car in Querétaro. Depends on the neighborhood you live in, Robin, but maybe Vanessa can give some insights.
Well, if you live in Querétaro, in Santiago de Querétaro, because I mean, when we say Querétaro, we also have to know that Querétaro is a state. So here, you know, I'm definitely talking about Santiago de Querétaro, and it's on Verons, right? So I don't live in Centro. I live in a fraccionamento about 15 minutes away from Centro, which I love so much. I love where I live. So I don't have a car. I don't have a car yet. I will be buying one, but I don't have a car. You do not need a car at all because the Ubers and the DDs here are amazing and very, very inexpensive. And what's also great about Querétaro, given that it's a big city but manageable, is that things are not really that far away. So Centro is 15 minutes away. If I want to go to Centro, I just take an Uber. It costs $5. And everything else, it's a very manageable city. So I will definitely say you don't need a car. I will be buying a car maybe in 6 months just because I want to have one. Because I would like to be able to travel to Bernal, to Tequisquiapan, and not have to hire a driver or take the bus. Another thing also is that, you know, the bus system in Mexico is, oh, chef's kiss. It's amazing compared to the United States, you know. So traveling around by bus is phenomenal in Mexico too. So no, you don't need a car.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, it just depends obviously on your level of comfort of like,
Mm-hmm.
grabbing a taxi. What some people do, a lot of people do actually, is the longer they've lived there, they make a really good relationship with a taxi driver that they trust and then they just have their number.
I had that. My
Yeah.
daughter, and my daughter, her school is literally 5 minutes away by car, but 20 minutes walking. So I don't want to walk. So I have a driver who comes every morning, and that's it. Right. So
That's so great, isn't it?
yeah,
Such a freedom to not the
yeah,
cart maintenance, gasoline, which is very
no.
expensive in Mexico. Um,
Hmm.
learning like the little rules of the roads in Mexico, like a stop sign is a suggestion. It's not a must.
Right.
That's awesome, Vanessa. I'm so glad that you're loving life there. For anybody who is watching and wants to know more about Querétaro, maybe give them your likes and dislikes about the city. Like give them the dirty too.
That's a really hard question for me because there's not much that I don't like about it. There's also just in general not much that I don't like about Mexico. As I said, it's my favorite country in the world, and I hope that more and more people understand that. I think the work that you're doing is definitely helping to move that along. But my likes is that it's first of all, it's Mexico. That's the first thing. It's not even about Querétaro. I'm in Mexico. So, and what I love about Mexico is the lifestyle, right? It's the lifestyle. Mexican culture, the Mexican people, Mexican food, the ease of living here, the lower cost of living. I mean, Querétaro is not the lowest cost city in Mexico. But yes, compared to United States, what I pay for my rent here and what I get for my rent compared to New York, it's, I mean, night and day. I think maybe my only dislike, well, it's not a dislike. I think that it's because of COVID. There, things, a lot of like maybe events or things like that had to have been stopped. But I think that that's more COVID. But you have everything here. You have the theater, you have movie theaters, you have amazing malls. Like nothing gets better than Mexican malls, I must say. You have everything here. You really do. One of the things that I really love, and this is again something that you don't really find in the United States, and a lot of people don't really know about Mexico. Mexico is great if you are part of the middle class because it lets you really let you take your dollars or your money very far in the sense that I live 15 minutes away from Centro in a beautiful, beautiful fraccionamento called Zakia. So Zakia is a development, a gated community. And these are things that you just don't see in the United States. I mean, gated communities in the States are really for the wealthy. Here it's for the middle class. And what's beautiful also about being in Mexico right now is this is a time to be here because also the Mexican middle class is growing. So it's also really beautiful to see all of these new developments, all of these people who are buying homes, their first homes, maybe, and so you see you're part of an economy that's growing and a Mexican middle class that's growing. So there's a lot of development, a lot of change that's happening here. I really love the idea of the fraccionamento, that you can live in this beautiful gated community in these beautiful townhomes at a great price and have these beautiful central parks in the middle for your kids to play. It's perfectly well thought out, beautifully landscaped. If you're retired, it's also amazing. I'm trying to get my parents to move here, and I probably will. So I don't really have that many dislikes, to be really honest with you. I have mostly a lot of likes.
Plus the weather. Let's talk about the weather. I mean, it's like December and you're able to go outside with like a light sweater. It's sunny most of the year.
Yes, I love the weather here also because it's not extremely hot. You don't have four seasons here like you have like in the Northeast of the United States. But for example, now we're in the winter, so in the evening it's a little bit cooler. So I like the fact that I can still wear sweaters. But during the day, it's sunny, it's beautiful. The climate here is dry also, so it's not humid like the south of Mexico. The weather's perfect. It really is.
Is that one of the things that you liked about it when you first landed there? I mean, it's very similar to Mexico City in that regard, that the weather is just constantly very nice.
Yes. And I think that even more so than Mexico City, you don't have this real issue with altitude, I think, which never has been an issue for me in Mexico City, but for some people it is. And you obviously do not have the pollution of Mexico City. So that's also really good.
That's a big one. What about your daughter? How is she liking it?
She loves it. My daughter is 3 years old. I only speak to her in English, but now, so she started off in terms of her language abilities, speaking in English. Now she's speaking in French and in Spanish. So it's amazing. She loves it. Mexico is one of the most amazing places for kids. I mean, I just cannot stress it enough. If you're a single parent, especially, Mexico just has so much in terms of supporting single parents. I will say that because as opposed to the United States. Again, I'm always going to be comparing to the United States because I think that maybe that's what people want to hear to really understand why it's such a benefit to live here. We have things here called, what are the names again? Oh, I forgot the names in Spanish. Ludotecas. So let's say for some reason you're, a single mom or two parents and you have to work and your kid is, the school is closed for some reason. For whatever reason, you can put your kid for the day in a ludoteca, which are these amazing places where they have nannies who are taking care of your kid for the day. Those things do not exist in the United States. Also Mexico, the restaurants in Mexico. A lot of restaurants in Mexico have playgrounds for kids, have nannies for kids. Everything is around the child. So the other reason why I love Mexico so much is in terms of the culture, it's very family oriented and the child is God. Everything is for the child. So I would definitely stress that Mexico is one of the best places to raise children. And aside from that, my daughter's making friends. She has dance classes, ballet classes. It's wonderful. It's a really great place for her.
That's so great. Have you been able to make friends with other local Mexicans, or maybe people in your surrounding fraccionamiento?
Absolutely. In my fraccionamento, some great friends, whose daughter is my daughter's best friend. We're going to the movies this weekend to go see Encanto, that new Disney movie. And also in her school, I'm part of the group chat with all the parents. So I'm meeting a lot of Mexican moms. And just in general, I'm a very sociable person. I have expat friends, but I also have local friends too.
Yeah. Would you say that it's pretty, in your experience, how easy would it be for a newcomer to be able to make friends?
It depends on you. It depends on you. You just really have to be open and to not be afraid to go up to someone at a restaurant and just talk. It really depends on the person. The Mexican people, it's hard. It's not great to generalize the Mexican people and all that, but I do want to generalize about the Mexican people in the sense that I've lived in other countries, and wow, the people here are just wonderful, really sweet, really helpful, and just really chill and just
Really laid back.
wonderful. Yeah, really laid back and wonderful.
There's
Like
not these like
absolutely.
constant polarizing left or right
No,
conversations about politics and
no.
exhausting topics like that. So,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
I bet it's a fresh breath or a breath of fresh air.
Yes, absolutely.
Bob wants to know, in your experience, is there a big expat retired community in Querétaro? Well, I can speak to this. I don't know if you have anything to add, Vanessa, but I can speak to this. There isn't a huge retired expat community like you would find in San Miguel de Allende or Ajijic, Lake Chapala area, Puerto Vallarta. These areas that have been popularized for years by other expats from either Canada or the US. However, that is starting to change. I do feel like Querétaro is starting to be like a place on the map where people are
Yeah,
starting to be like, I need to go there. It
yeah,
has an international airport with nonstop flights to many parts in the US. It has, like Vanessa mentioned, international schools that are accredited in the US. If you put your kid there, if you have children, obviously, maybe if you're retired, not. But it has a lot of things for people who are not only going to Mexico for work, but actually enjoying their retirement. I don't know if you have anything to add, Vanessa.
yeah, everything you just said. I think, what we were talking before we came on is, with the advent of YouTube, people are learning about different things, right? And so you have a lot of influencers or travel bloggers who are now talking about Querétaro. So before, Querétaro wasn't as known as Ajijic or Mérida or Mexico City or even Guadalajara, but now it's becoming known. And so it's this little gem in Mexico but that's a big city. I think that is the difference. It's not a beach town, it's a big city. So where you have everything, so more and more people are starting to pay more attention to it. And that's also why you have a different mix of expats who are coming. First of all, you have a very big industrial industry here, aviation. A lot of multinational companies are here. So you do have a lot of expats that are here through a work visa, but will eventually leave. But what's been happening this past 2, 3 years is that now you have people who are moving for good, whether it's parents with kids, retirees, all the different types of people. I think, so that is, yes, there is a retired expat community here. They're not in one particular neighborhood. Querétaro is big. There are many different neighborhoods. When you come here, you definitely have to come and scout so you can see which neighborhood you prefer. But you definitely have a nice expat community, but it's not an expat community. We're mixed in with the locals. We're just part of the landscape.
Yeah, definitely. Um, since it's pretty cold there in the mornings this time of year, do a lot of the apartments and houses have heat?
No, no, there's no air conditioning or heat. You would have to maybe put that in yourself, I think. But I have to say, the cold in the mornings doesn't really bother me. As long as you have some rugs in your home, you'll be
Exactly.
fine. Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't need it. Yeah.
And if you absolutely couldn't handle the cold mornings, they do have these units called mini splits, which you put up on a wall, you plug into any outlet. It uses 110 voltage, and you could put heat on. So that is something that you could install yourself, Bob, if the house that you're renting in Querétaro doesn't offer this. Some houses do have chimneys or chimeneas,
Mhm.
but I know that like a lot of Mexicans don't turn them on. They don't really use them. I personally have a lot of family in Querétaro. They all have chimeneas. They never turn them on. So just FYI, there are mini splits that you can buy. Very easy to just plug it in and have somebody come and install it onto your wall. Mariana, can Vanessa talk more about her process of obtaining her temporary visa? Did she go to the Mexican consulate in New York or another city? Absolutely, Terry. Maybe you can share more about that, Vanessa.
I am so happy to share about that because I just got my temporary residency. I'm so happy. Yeah. So during Thanksgiving, so I arrived here on a tourist visa. And I just wanted to wait it out a little bit. And so, before 2 months before my 6 months, 180 days were the FMM that we call was about to expire. I made sure that I got in contact directly with the consulate in my hometown. Well, my hometown at that time was Columbia, South Carolina, where I was staying, where my parents lived. And that's where my business entity is. That's where I'm a resident of, right? So I contacted them. They're actually not in South Carolina, but in Raleigh, North Carolina. That's where the Mexican consulate is. I got my appointment. They told me the documents that I needed. I got all of those documents together. One thing I definitely do want to say is that when you are going to be showing your bank statements, you definitely have to go to your bank to get it stamped and signed by your bank. You can't just print out your bank statements and they're going to accept it. Again, another thing is that many different consulates have different criteria, but I think in general, that's one thing to know. And I had my appointment. So I went during Thanksgiving. That's when I had my appointment and I got pre-approved. Now, when you get pre-approved, they put the visa in your passport. It's a temporary visa. You have to finalize the process when you come back to Mexico. You have 30 days to finalize that process. So right now, I have an appointment at the INM, yes, which is the immigration in Querétaro. I have it on January 3rd to finalize the process, right? So there is a whole process that you have to go through. I'm sure, Mariana, you can help people with that. But yeah, you can get help for that. It's not complicated at all. As long as you have proof of financial solvency, you should be fine.
Now, did you get your daughter within the same, or are you going to petition for her now that you're a temporary resident within Mexico?
I'm going to petition her because her father has to sign. So her father is actually here with us. So, there's those legal things for minors. I couldn't just, do that like that. So yes, but again, it's very easy. Once I finalize and get my temporary residency card on January 3rd, I can then formalize the process for her.
Yeah, and we have a list of immigration facilitators all over Mexico. It's part of the Mexico Relocation Guide. So if you go to our website, mexicorelocationguide.com, I've also added it to the comments. You can find out more about our online guide. It has not only immigration facilitators, but like Vanessa mentioned, it includes the entire step-by-step process if you want to do it yourself. So just letting you know that. So very good to know about the bank statement. Thank you so much. Yeah, like Vanessa mentioned, every consulate has different requirements. So some consulates may let you not have to authenticate your bank statements. Some consulates are very strict about that. Some consulates won't take you in if you do not live in their jurisdiction. Right. Some consulates are not particular about that. Which is one of the reasons I really recommend working with an immigration facilitator, because it just saves you so much time figuring all of that out.
Another reason why I also recommend working with an immigration facilitator is when I got back and I needed to go on the website cita.inm or something like that to make the appointment, the first step is to fill out the application. I filled out the application and normally it was supposed to route me directly to a page to get my appointment. So when you fill out the application, it gives you a number called a pieza, I think that's the name, and it's supposed to route you directly to get your appointment. It didn't do that for me, so I was freaking out. So it didn't do that. So luckily I had the number of a facilitator who was able to make the appointment for me. So I definitely recommend working with a facilitator. They may not have to do the entire process for you, sure, but they can help you though.
Yeah, and I mean, they cost like a few $100s. I mean, it's not anything that's going to break your bank. Well worth it. You just sit back. They tell you exactly what to do. Tony has a question. How did you get your? Oh no, she she got a temporary, Tony. She didn't get a permanent.
Right. But you get your permanent, I think, if I'm not
After
mistaken,
4
Mariana,
years.
after 4 years. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So what she's talking about, Tony, is how she got her temporary resident. For those of you who are watching and looking at Tony's comment about having to be a certain age, normally most Mexican consulates want you to be over the age of 60 for you to get permanent residency. Now, that doesn't mean that nobody has ever gotten permanent residency under the age of 60. It just depends on the consul in that consulate. Sometimes they'll see you and they'll be like, yeah, okay, I'll give you permanent residency. It just truly depends on the agent that you get and the Mexican consulate that you go to. Another reason why an immigration facilitator can help you out in that regard. So when you started looking at rentals and, when you decided, okay, I'm going to move here, did you decide straight away you were going to sign a 1-year lease? Like, can you give us more insight into that process?
Absolutely. So as I said, I'm a planner. So when I came to Scout in January 2021 of this year, I already was in the Facebook groups for Queretaro. Since I've been to Mexico, I know Mexico pretty well. I do have some friends. I just started asking people to recommend agents in Querétaro, and I settled on this one agent who's amazing, Eugenio Vargas. And we just, he just started sending me listings. I told him exactly what I wanted, my budget, my criteria, and he started sending me listings. So once I arrived in June of this year, we started looking in earnest. I really started visiting. And I already knew, because I came in January, I scouted beforehand. I knew which neighborhood I wanted to live in. Since I have a daughter, there's just certain things that I wanted to have. I can't live in Centro. That's not really great for a kid, not a lot of playgrounds and all that. But if you don't have kids, Centro could be amazing. It's absolutely gorgeous. And in June, we just started looking, and that's it. I found my dream home, really.
Did he help you was a contract in English? Did he help you translate that?
Yes, the contract was in Spanish, but it was translated. And I think this is the thing. So normally when you're renting, you have to have a guarantor, an aval, right? And I think also, an aval, okay. And I think also because I was on my tourist visa, they doubly wanted to make sure that I would have a guarantor. Well, I didn't have that. A guarantor has to be someone who owns property in Querétaro. They have to show their bank statements. They have to agree that if you don't pay your rent, that they're going to pay it for you. So it's not anybody who would agree to that. But in my case, I just didn't have that person. So in that case, no worries. You just have to sign a policia. Is that policia? Policia?
Póliza de arrendamiento.
Póliza jurídica, something like that, right? Yeah. So I had to sign that, and it's basically you just pay an extra fee. I really don't remember how much extra. It wasn't exorbitant, but it just protects you, and it also protects the homeowner in case of an issue, right? And I did have to pay, and I agreed to pay 2 months security deposit instead of 1 month. I also agreed to pay 2 months, so I put out 4 months, in advance, but that's because I really wanted to have this house and I did not have an aval. So that's
You're trying to show the landlord that you really mean business.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's totally worth it. It was great. So I paid 2 months in advance. So I had 2 months, I didn't have to worry about paying my rent. You know what I mean? So it worked out great, but that was really it. And I think having the police was great too. So at the signing, the lawyer who I guess drafts the polisa for the homeowner was there. I have an amazing, wonderful landlord, and the process was really a breeze. It really was.
So for those of you guys who are watching and don't know anything about an aval, a fiador, póliza de arrendamiento, any of these terms that we're talking about, these are common things that happen outside of the popular expat cities. So like if you were to live in somewhere like Playa del Carmen or Puerto Vallarta or Ajijic or San Miguel de Allende, these things are less common because those landlords are so used to renting out their homes to expats and they know they're good for the money. However, in other cities where, in Mexico, the minimum wage is $7 a day. So somebody may not be able to afford a house like this. They need a co-signer, essentially, that will say, hey, if he defaults on his rent, I'll pay for it. But if you, as an expat, don't have a personal connection in Mexico who's a Mexican citizen, who has money in the bank, who there's a list of requirements, then there are these companies that will sell you basically a naval, or a fianza de arrendamiento is what it's called. And it's truly just like an insurance policy. You pay an amount and the company will cover in case that you default on the rent. So it really protects you, protects the landlord as well. And again, this is all included in the online guide. So if you have questions about that, it's all included in the online guide. So that's good that your realtor was able to help you out with that, and also help you negotiate that, hey, maybe you would need to pay more upfront in order for the landlord to know, like, hey, she's really serious about this lease.
Yeah.
That's not uncommon also.
Yeah, absolutely.
You still love your home?
I love my home. I
Yeah.
love. And it's wonderful now that I have my residency. It's only temporary, but you know, it's still my residency. I can now really start furnishing it, and I absolutely love it. I love townhome living in Mexico. I really do. I love the fraccionamiento, gated community living. It's really nice.
Would you mind sharing how much your rent is?
I pay 15,000 pesos, which is $720 a month.
Okay. What does that include?
Doesn't include anything.
Okay.
It doesn't include, I mean, my utilities are very low. So my gas, electricity, and water, very low every month. But I have this absolutely gorgeous townhome. It's a 3-bedroom. It's on 3 floors. I have a huge
Oh, it's a
rooftop.
3-bedroom.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Most of the homes here are 3 bedrooms. I mean, yeah, you do have 2 bedrooms and 1 bedrooms, but
Your gated community.
yeah. So yeah, what includes is 24/7 security. You know, you also, what do you call it? The maintenance is included, right, in that. I have this gorgeous rooftop terrace, which is humongous, which I cannot wait to start, building out, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, beautiful kitchen. It's just absolutely gorgeous. And also a garden out back. It's beautiful. It's modern. It's absolutely gorgeous. $720. I mean,
a lot of house for $720.
Yeah.
And you said you're going to start furnishing it soon?
Yeah, well, I started. I think what's great about Mexico too is that you can, because when I started furnishing, I went to all the stores, the department stores, the Liverpools and the, Copels and all of that. And it's really expensive, I have to admit. For me, for somebody else, maybe it's not, but it was just too much to have to furnish a big house. So I actually had my dining room set and my sofa custom made and much cheaper and absolutely gorgeous. I mean, that's also another great thing about Mexico is you can get a lot of things custom made for a really great price and really high quality.
Yeah, that's so amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like
custom
made to the dimensions in your home, where nothing is like, you pull out the chair, it's not going to scrape the wall. Like, yeah,
it's amazing.
That's so great. And good for you for knowing that little tip, because a lot of people, might not even know that that's even an option for them.
Oh, it is. Yeah, definitely.
Somebody wants to know, let's see, which income requirement did your consulate use, the minimum salary or the UMA? How much income did they require from you when you asked for temporary?
Oh, okay. This is the thing also, is that I think each consulate is different. Also.
In South Carolina, though.
Well, okay, if I remember well, okay, there are 2 things. You either have to show a certain balance per month, or you can show the income that you made, right? So I think in terms of the balance per month, it had to be a minimum of like $1,300 per month, the balance. And so I think just in general, if we want to just take it more generally, I think you need to have an income of between, I'm going to say 1,300 to 2,000, but you would know more than me. I don't know. But I don't think it goes over 2,000. I don't know.
It depends on the consulate. So
Right.
I'll come in here, Dave. It fully depends on the consulate. It sounds like what Vanessa's talking about is her experience with this particular consulate. I've never heard of a consulate require less than $1,500 in my personal experience. And that's the one in Denver. And I've also never heard of a consulate require more than $2,200. And that's somewhere in California, I think San Diego. That's for temporary. So you have to have roughly $2,000 a month for the last 6 months in income. So they have to see that you have at least this balance after taxes in your bank account for the last 6 months. Or you can also qualify with savings of either one.
Yes.
If you have at least $35,000 in savings, because maybe you don't have a regular income that pays you $2,000. If you have at least $35,000 in savings, you can also qualify that way. And that's for temporary. For permanent, it's a whole different ballgame. You need about $3,500 in the last 6 months, bank statements again, or about $130,000 in savings for the last 12 months. So, but every consulate is different. Your immigration facilitator will be able to tell you exactly what the requirements are for the consulate that you're trying to work with close to you.
Yeah.
So they'll do all the research.
Yeah, the consulate that I went to in Raleigh, I needed to show 12 months of bank statements, not 6.
Yeah.
But again, it depends.
Yeah. See, sometimes they just change the rules on you on the spot.
Yeah.
Somebody wants to ask another question from Dave's question. So how did you find which consulates? Oh man, the issue on residency visas is a big one. I see. You know, you can't. They don't publish this information on their website. They just tell you how much income they're requiring for temporary or permanent. So let's say that you live in Dallas, right? You go to Google and you Google Dallas Consulate or Dallas Mexican Consulate. You go to their website, you look for the services for non-Mexicans. Usually that's how it's listed. And every consulate has a different webpage, by the way. They don't all use the same universal one. So you go there and you find out what the income requirements are. So they don't tell you if they're using the UMA or if they're using the minimum wage. I know it's messy. They're trying to change this, by the way, and I have hope that they're going to change it soon because they know it's messy.
And I would definitely, if I can just piggyback a little bit more, I would definitely recommend once you get on that website, I don't know how I was able to do this, but I was able to get someone's email address. I was able to get, and I love her, Edith. Thank you, Edith. She's basically like the vice consul, or, when I went to my meeting, she took all my paperwork and went in the back to the consul, and he or she made that final decision. So, but I was in contact with her for 2 or 3 months, and that's just really helpful because then they can send you what the requirements that consul wants. So that says you don't have any surprises.
Yeah, and that way you're not making that trip and then getting there and only to find out that you didn't bring everything that they were requiring. Yes, this is very true. And some consulates want you to only make appointments through the online portal, Mexitel. Some of them will give you an email address to make an appointment at. It just depends. Every single consulate operates a little bit differently. So Vanessa, why don't you talk to us about maybe some more of your expenses? Like, for example, what do you guys do for healthcare?
Healthcare, I actually, before moving, I got a healthcare for expats.
Okay.
It's called Safety Wing. So that is if it's not preventative care, but if it's something happens to me, right? So I just want to make sure if something happens to me here, the hospitals here are great, so I don't really see that there's going to be a need for me to be flown out back to the States. But if anything happens, I can be, right? And if I get into an accident here, I'm covered. Now, and especially now that I'm getting my residency and I know that I'm staying here, I'm actually looking into getting a Mexican insurance, like a Seguro General or something like that, just so that I can have preventative care also here. But the expat, the Safety Wing, it's $65 a month for me and my daughter.
Oh, for both of you?
Yeah.
And catastrophic, meaning like it has to be like a life-threatening?
Not necessarily, not life-threatening, but if like I have an accident, I break my tooth, or, then I have, even if I just need medication, I can get it reimbursed, right? But it's not necessarily preventative care.
Got it.
Right.
So if you wanted to go get your annual checkup, it wouldn't be covered, kind of thing.
Right. Exactly.
Got it. Makes total sense. A lot of people end up self-paying because the healthcare in Mexico is just so affordable. When
that's it.
For like, a simple thing, like if your kid had a really bad stomach ache and maybe they had diarrhea or they had some other problem, and maybe they had a bug that they needed some antibiotics for, it's so incredibly inexpensive for you to go to a doctor, a specialist, and just pay out of pocket. So a lot of expats do that. The times where we recommend getting like healthcare, and maybe you can chime in here, is for bigger things, because if you were to need surgery, if you were to get cancer, if you were to have a heart attack, all those things are way more expensive when you have to pay out of pocket. And I mean, we're talking like tens of thousands of dollars. So that's where people really end up having to like really, really reach deep into their savings when they live in Mexico and they didn't plan for those things.
Exactly. Yeah. And also what's great in Mexico too is, the pharmacies are great. And in the sense that, you have doctors on call a lot of the time. So you can, I don't know, it's just really nice knowing that I can go to a pharmacy, and if I want to have just a very quick consultation or explain really what's going on with me, I know that I have someone who's an expert who can, who's a doctor, who can actually help me.
Yeah. In Mexico, they have these, what we call them, doc in a box. And it's essentially the pharmacy has a doctor right next door that works with the pharmacy. So they can consult with you, usually for $2 or $5.
Right.
And then just write the prescription, and then you can go get it filled at the pharmacy store. It's amazing. It's so awesome. Why don't you tell people a little bit about your business? Because I know that, you're a digital nomad, you're working in Mexico, you're running a US-based business, but you're working in Mexico. What is that like, as far as everything, internet speed to maybe even like, just what you do. So I'll let you explain.
Absolutely. So I was able to move to Mexico because I am a certified online business manager and online business strategist. So I work from home, I work remotely. So I'm able to live wherever I want. So what I do as a certified online business manager and online business strategist, I help people set up and launch or streamline and scale their online business. I love what I do. It's really, really amazing, especially with COVID, things are changing. I think we're talking a lot about a great resignation. A lot of people are tired of their corporate jobs, or people are retired and want to start a business. So that's what I help people do. I help people set up and launch their online business. It's amazing doing it here. I don't have any problems with the internet. Hopefully I won't have any connection issues. I pay about $25 a month for my internet. It's really great. I really haven't had any issues. And yeah, I'm a US based business, so I pay my taxes in the US. But I can work in Mexico. If one day I want to actually open a business in Mexico, whether a brick and mortar business, or if I want to, create a subsidiary of my online business, but, working with Mexican entrepreneurs, then I would have to go through the process of establishing myself as a company here in Mexico.
Yeah, right. Are you taking advantage of the foreign earned income exclusion or anything like that?
Absolutely. I've been taking advantage of that for the past 25 years.
So for
because
anybody,
in France, it was the same thing.
Yeah, of course. And it's a huge amount of money that you can take advantage of that the IRS gives you a tax break on. For anybody who doesn't know about this, a foreign earned income exclusion gives you up to $108,000 in a tax credit per se for you living outside of the US and not getting double taxed. So basically, because you're living outside of the country, you can take advantage of this $108,000 and get it as a deduction in your US taxes. So a lot of people who run US businesses who can have this, location independence can absolutely take advantage of this.
Yes, absolutely.
It's a wonderful thing, isn't it?
It is. It is. It really is.
You're taking advantage of the lower cost of living. Plus, you also get to run your business wherever you want. Get to spend more time with your kid.
Yeah, and also what's great about having a home-based business, you also have a lot of deductions already with the IRS, right? Your home office, there's so many things. So I love being an entrepreneur. I would not have it any other way. And my life's purpose is to help people become entrepreneurs themselves. Absolutely.
So if you've always wanted to open up your online business, maybe do a coaching program, maybe do something, definitely get in touch with Vanessa.
An online course, all of it. We help you set up and launch it.
She'll help you strategize. She'll help you figure all of the details out. If that's not your forte, let Vanessa take care of you.
Yeah. And we're actually starting our group coaching program in January. I have a group coaching program for those who don't want to work one-on-one with me. It's called the Strategic Entrepreneur, and that's where we spend 4 months setting up and launching your online business. That starts in January, and you can find the information on the website.
That is so awesome. And just like, can I just say, from a person who does an online business, having something like that, having somebody who's an expert help you strategize and help you from beginning to launch is huge.
Yeah.
There's a lot of work that goes into
Wow.
running an online business. It's not as simple as just turning on a button. So it's
Yeah.
huge. Definitely take advantage of her services if that's something that interests you. Her link is in the comments. So I'll post it up again for those of you guys that didn't get a chance. But Vanessa, and I'm not going to even try to pronounce your last name, Jacqueline?
Jacquemin.
Jacquemin. Okay,
Yes.
Jacquemin.com. Go check it out, you guys. Somebody else has a question, Vanessa. I feel like we're all over the place, but it's good. I'm glad you guys are engaging and you guys have so many questions for Vanessa. It's so nice. Miguel wants to know, are you able to speak about garbage, water, and internet? Are they reliable?
Yes. Well, garbage, I don't have to deal with it. I just have to take out my garbage and put it in the front of the condominium area. There's a separate garbage recycling area that gets picked up, I guess, every day. We really don't have to worry about that at all. We just have to put it out there. Water, also not an issue. I just pay my bill every month, and it's not expensive. And water has been great. Internet also has been really, really great. I use the company Queretaro, and I really can say I've had no issues, and it's pretty inexpensive. Yeah.
Did you set this up yourself? Was there any issues for you setting it up yourself?
No, I just called the company. So I had to, I think what it is that depending on the fraccionamento, the gated community that you live in, each gated community, I think, just uses one type, at least this one does, at least mine, just has one company that they use. All of it is fiber optic, really fast, but possibly there are other, communities, other condominios where you can choose which one you want. This one, it's only this Queretaro company, but I contacted them.
Right.
They arrived the next day or 2 days later, set it up, and that's it. The only thing that I will say about Wi-Fi here is that you may have to buy a Wi-Fi extender from Amazon, only because the homes here are not built like in the US. They're built out of concrete. So, my home is pretty big. So sometimes like the Wi-Fi, it doesn't go all over the house.
Yeah.
Right. So I just bought a Wi-Fi extender from Amazon for a couple of bucks and it works fine.
Yeah. Great tip. Great tip. Now, the $1 million question that I'm sure a lot of people have in their minds is, safety. How do you feel about, Mexico just gets blasted all over the news as being super unsafe and you better run for your life. So how do you feel about that?
It's just one of those things that just bother me so much, really. It bothers me how much there's such a really false image of Mexico, mostly in the United States, I have to say. Okay, I'm not going to say that there aren't problems or issues in certain areas of Mexico, obviously, but it's not in Querétaro. Querétaro, Mérida, even Mexico City, I love Mexico City. I've never felt unsafe there. Querétaro in particular is extremely, extremely, extremely safe. There's no issue here whatsoever. And I said, and again, in general, I really am tired of this bad image that Mexico has, because people hear that and they immediately like, well, no, I'm not. There's no way. No, I feel so much safer here than I do in the United States. There are not guns in the streets, right? And I'm not going to get into anything political about that, but the fact remains, in the United States, there are a lot of guns in the streets, right? So not here, so I'm not worried about that. No, it's very, very, very safe.
Yeah, I feel the same way. And it's not because I advocate for guns or don't advocate for guns, but if I did have a gun in the US, it's because somebody else can have a gun too. So I want to be able to protect myself. Whereas in Mexico, it's actually very, very hard for you to be able to register a gun. That doesn't mean that people can't get them illegally from the United States and then bring them to Mexico. But most people don't have guns in their home. It's just not a common thing. So, to Vanessa's point, I feel very safe in Querétaro too. I've walked alone at night in the centro by myself as a female. I never had anybody tell me like, hey, you might want to go inside now. Like it's not safe for you to be out here anymore. So, and I felt fully safe.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm
it's
sure
very,
Yeah, I'm sure you would also never move to a place with your daughter if you didn't feel like it was.
Exactly. Oh, yeah, exactly. No, I mean, I have the luxury that I did know Mexico before moving here. I've always felt safe here. I've done my research, and yeah, I would never move to a place where I put myself or my daughter in danger. Absolutely not.
I 100% agree with that. Were there any surprises when you moved to Mexico? You did a scouting trip, and you've been there before, but now that you're living here, or now that you're living there, like what surprises have you found?
Wow, the main surprise for me was how correct I was, how right I was. And as I said, I had been to Mexico often before. I knew about it. I felt I understood it. And it's not really until I moved here and just I'm living here now that I was like, I was right. I was right. This is the best country in the world, period, hands down. And I mean that in regards to the quality of your life. I lived in France for 8 years. I know Europe very well. No. I lived in the United States. I'm American. I'm a proud American. No. I lived in the Caribbean. I lived in Brazil. I never lived in Africa. I didn't have to live in the Middle East, all of that. But Mexico is the best. It just has everything. It's like you're living in the United States, but better. And better, what I mean by that is because there's Mexican culture, there's Mexican food, there's a real through line in regards to the lifestyle and the culture. Um, the Mexican people, you just get so much more, while at the same time, you're getting everything that you would get in the United States. I don't miss anything about the United States. I had all the amenities that I would want, right? But in addition, I get Mexico and the ability to be able to travel in a very inexpensive way by plane to other parts of Mexico. I haven't started doing all the travel that I want to do. I'm just so excited to go to the Pueblo Mágicos, to the big cities, to the beaches. I mean, there's just
Yeah.
so much here just in Mexico. So that's what I can say. The biggest surprise, and not, it wasn't a surprise really, is that I was correct in my assessment.
Yeah, it definitely shows that you're a planner because you've
Yeah.
obviously done a lot of research. And I mean, it paid off, right? You
Yeah.
have a lot of surprises.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's more than the planning. It's just, as I said, I came here the first time when I was 17. And the minute I got here, there was just something about this country where I felt at home. I've lived in many places. I'm even from the United States, but I never felt at home in any of those places. Mexico is the only place where I feel at home.
I feel like that's very beautiful. And I say that because, I feel like you're one of so many expat who has the same sentiment. They never really felt at home somewhere else. They always felt like, you know, when once they got to Mexico, they were like, wow, this has always been my home.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly that.
that's awesome. Are you any plans to go back to the US like for good or no? This is your home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And Querétaro may not be my home forever. It could be somewhere else, but I think definitely Mexico forever for sure. And I think Querétaro. I mean, also my daughter's school here, as I said, I was looking for a specific school, a French school, and I have it here. No, I'm very happy here. Very, very happy.
Yeah. Somebody has a really good question about COVID policies in Querétaro.
COVID policies. Well, I think the policies are pretty much like other places, except that there aren't real mandates, except you do, when you go into a store, for example, you do have to have your mask. I think they're much more advanced than what I saw in the States, some places where they have like those disinfectant mats where when you walk in, you can, disinfect your shoes. Sometimes when you go to some places, they may, this is very rare, spray you. That's if you go to a doctor's office or something like that. I remember, but the gel is always there. But yeah, when you go to a restaurant, you can obviously take off your mask when you're eating. Um, some of the, for example, I was really excited about Mexican independence, which is in September. I love the El Grito, event, and they didn't have that this year because that would mean a lot of people. So just the crowds, not as much, but it's feeling very normal. People are just going back, living their lives, enjoying, and just being careful. When you go to a mall, there is like the temperature taking. You're just careful, but no real strict mandates for now, at least.
What about going to the grocery store with your daughter? I know that some places kind of ask that you don't bring children into the grocery store. Has that been an issue for you?
No, that hasn't been an issue, but you do have, but really, it's only one grocery store, Chedraui, which I saw that, where, it's only two family members. So her father had to stay behind, you know what I mean? But that was very rare also.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you just have to really wear your mask. I think that that's important. That's it.
Yeah, and most of Mexico right now is on green. They have this light traffic system, which is red, green, or yellow, um, and or yellow or green, yellow, red.
Hmm.
And basically, it's like a traffic light. At red, it's like most restaurants have the most strictest restrictions, so they might only be operating carry out only, which at one point the country was
Yeah.
all red. But now most of the country is green, which means that
Yeah.
most people can go back to life as normal, just maybe
Absolutely.
mask wearing.
Mhm. And I think maybe some restaurants may close a little bit earlier at 11 instead of at 1 o'clock in the morning type of thing. But it really, you feel normal. You just have to wear your mask.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with that. Any last words for people who might be considering moving to Mexico and are still kind of on the fence, or words of wisdom on how to do the
That's a
research, as you're such a planner?
Well, just before I ask, I just saw a question. Somebody asked, "Are there any power outages?" So I just wanted just to answer that.
Oh yeah.
No, there was not really. I was in one fraccionamento, an Airbnb, before finding my place, and that one there were some power outages sometimes, but literally it just came back on. It was like for like max an hour. It really wasn't that great. But here where I am, no, there's nothing. There really isn't that issue. Um, but in terms of final words, what can I say? Move to Mexico. Move to Mexico. Don't stay in the United States. I mean, I don't know. To each their own. I love being an expat. I'm an eternal international person. So living outside of my country is just my thing. But all I can say is that if you move to Mexico, if you plan it out well, if you really envision the life that you want to have and you plan that life out, you will have the life of your dreams and it will be here. I just cannot stress enough how amazing it is to live here. Whether you have kids, whether you're retired, whether you're just I don't know, whatever, whoever, you're an alien, I don't know, I don't know, outer space,
There's a place for everyone.
move to Mexico. It really is, this is a phenomenal country with a rich history. Oh, it's just, and the food is to die for. The food is just amazing.
Yeah,
It's amazing. Yeah.
there
The
hasn't been
food.
anything that you're like, I will never eat that again.
No, I eat everything. My favorite is huitlacoche. I love
Oh,
huitlacoche.
me too.
I
Wow,
love
you're very
huitlacoche.
rare.
Oh, I love
Most
Mexican
people don't
food.
like
No,
it.
yeah, it's amazing. And again, the last thing I will say, all of this is because of the Mexican people.
Hmm.
It's a generality, but really, I've lived in different places. The Mexican people make living here just a pleasure. They really do.
I'm so incredibly thankful that you are very appreciative of the country. I'm sorry for the dog. Somebody rang the doorbell. Somebody's coming to Querétaro in February. Well, you guys need to
Oh, okay.
connect.
Absolutely. Connect with me, Terry. Absolutely. That's great that you're coming.
Go check her out again. Her website is vanessajacquemin.com. It's in the comments. And I hope this has been helpful to you guys. It's all about Querétaro today. There's going to be a few more live streams coming up about Querétaro. We have a house hunter in Querétaro who's going to give us all the details about how to properly rent a home in Querétaro, because it is different than in the popular expat cities. That's coming in January. We're going to take some time off between now and then. And I want to thank Vanessa so much for spending her evening with us.
You're so welcome. It was a pleasure to be here.
And thank you guys, everyone. Stay tuned for the next one. If you haven't joined the newsletter, join it now. That way you can find out about upcoming tours. And yes, Querétaro is in the plans. So thank you guys, everybody, for being here. Bye, Vanessa.
Bye.
Happy
Bye-bye.
holidays.
Happy holidays, everyone.